Hi, Shubhangi. First of all, thanks a lot for sparing your time and joining the call today.
Hey, hi. Thank you for having me here. It's just going to be so much fun. I'm excited.
So, Shubhangi, a lot of my audience, they were asking me about the information system security job or cyber security jobs. What is difference between these two terms and a lot of other questions. So I want to discuss all of them with you in today's video. But before I ask you any question, can you please tell us something about your background, so about your professional background or your educational background, so that the audience can know about you?
Okay, well, right now I'm working as like SecOps automation engineer for Well and I started like my whole journey started with like undergrad regular BTech degree in India, and then I started working as developer in India, and
Mm-hmm.
that is actually where when I started working, I it was then I realized a sense of security, how important it is, because I started working for like a fintech company at that point in time. And while you work for like especially financial institutions, it's just different process in terms of how you're coding, what would be the test cases and whatnot. So kind of that's when I realized. And after 2 years, like I started in 2016, and after 2 years I realized that okay, I want to do like a specification in this. Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
not necessary, but like that's what my calling was. So I like did masters here, specialized in cybersecurity, because like I was a thesis student, so I wrote my thesis in cybersecurity. So that's how I got my specialization. After that, I work for different companies over here,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm working for Wealthsimple.
Cool. And Shivangi, you mentioned that you did your bachelor's back in India, then you had some of the work experience in India, then came the master's, and then right now you're working into this profile. So can you please tell us a little bit in more detail about your career trajectory? Because a lot of people they want to enter into this industry, but they don't know from where to start. Because a lot of students from India, they generally have the background in computer science, like the bachelor's in computer science or bachelor's in IT or some related bachelor's degrees, right? Or some of them they are just coming after their 12th standard, or they want to take some of the courses. So considering like let's take your profile as the benchmark, like how all the dots connected, and what is the ideal background for these type of profile. Maybe you can walk us through some of the points that you can share with the audience.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think ideally it's just great that you have taken up the courses while you're studying that are related to security. It could be networking or cryptography or something like that, just like privacy and whatnot. So
Mhm.
basically that's how you could like make up an ideal profile. But
Okay.
they're like, it's not like a specific standard of it. Like I've
Mhm.
seen my team is like mix of all sort of people from different sort of domains. They've like just got like a calling. They were like, one of my teammate was a musician. Like he did a course in musician, and then after a while pursuing music, he realized that no, I want to do something else. So he took up
Mhm.
like a course, a very generic diploma course, and now he's senior to me. So it's like not anything which you have to take this path or something very well defined. But I think it's very to the very basic level, I would just say that knowing different stuff in security, little bit about like what your calling would be, like if you want to be in like related to code, like you want to
Mhm.
work as like someone who would be developing applications, so there would be application security people, so they will be
Okay.
working on writing secure applications. So you
Mhm.
just have to recognize your calling, and there are like different realms in cybersecurity as well, and there's like not really a normal or a very specified trajectory of reaching where you want to be.
Okay.
But definitely you have to know details of how things are working and what is required
Mhm.
in security domain, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Shivangi, you mentioned that there's not any particular trajectory. But let's say someone has already taken the masters of computer science or masters of software engineering. Like that's what most of the Indian students are taking, right? So you also mentioned that you can take some of the some specific security related courses.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about them? You can compare them with your master's program. Like what are all the things that you learned when you were a student? so that
Yeah.
so that the students who are coming into computer science or software engineering, they know like these are few of the points that they need to keep in mind while pursuing their education.
Yeah, so I mean, like that's again, it comes when we talk about masters, that means you have already done a bachelor's or a diploma course already. That's how
Right.
you're coming to masters. So you know what you like doing, right? Like, so basically, if it's cybersecurity or like security that you want to pursue, then there are courses which are relevant to privacy. They're relevant to cryptography. There's like software engineering with the term of I don't remember the exact term, because like with different universities, just like the naming format changes, but there you have to go through the content of the course, like what you're going to read about, what's it's is it going to be more about software development or like how to make a secure software. So there are like different courses, but again, it depends that you're just learning coding, like there are AI courses. So when you take machine learning, AI, or data science courses, your trajectory would be more towards them, right? When you take networking or cybersecurity courses like networking, cryptography, privacy, secure development life cycle, and stuff like that, then your trajectory is more like towards application security, infrastructure security, or like a regular security person, like a software security analyst and whatnot. So I mean, like it just depends on the courses and the content of the courses, and you have to, like, I think everyone who is doing masters or even bachelors, a layman could understand with the content of the course that what you're going to learn about it. So you have to be a little careful while choosing or electing the courses.
Cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned a few of the cool terms like cryptography, networking, and some other stuff, because I'm not from the cybersecurity background, so I have no idea what these types of professional, like the cybersecurity professionals, they do. I never got a chance, even I'm into the software industry, but I never got a chance to work with any of these professionals. So can you please tell us something about your day-to-day, like what are your roles and responsibilities, how much time you spend upon coding, or what are the things that you basically you do on your day-to-day basis?
For sure. So basically, in our like specifically cybersecurity realm, you not necessarily have to code. Like security analyst or SOC, security operations center people are not required coding. Like they go their day-to-day activities, like just going and looking at the logs and finding vulnerabilities or detections and whatnot, and then trying to secure the environment. But there are people who like coding as well, right? So they'd be like working on like application security. So like they'd be working with staff level or like the regular developers, and would have like a different frame of mind, considering the application could be like there are like different attacks that could happen on applications, so they would like prevent them in the terms when they code, like bringing them to the development life cycle. So my day-to-day role is like in a middle, like I work as a bridge between cyber analyst or SOC people, and kind of automate what their regular activities like. So if there's an incident created, like there's like an attack that is happening, so there would be like alerts that would be triggered, and then they would take certain actions. They'd go to the data, they'd start looking into it. So my job here specifically is like automating the process. How easily they could be like, they could just like they don't have to do a lot manual investigation. I'd like create pipelines or playbooks and whatnot to make it all happen automatically and close the incidents as like benign, malicious, and whatnot. So that's my role here.
And Shubhangi, you mentioned one very interesting thing, that as a cybersecurity professional, even if you don't know coding, you can opt for some different set of roles and responsibilities. If you know coding, then you can opt for different type of profile. But I want to discuss one thing, that on social media these days, these cybersecurity jobs, they are more portrayed as the profiles which don't require coding at all. So I want to like a lot of people say, like in case you are, because everyone wants to enter into tech industry because it's the era of tech. but at the same time, everyone is not good at coding. So they somehow find a balance between these two things, and a lot of students, they're trying to enter into this domain. So as an expert of this industry or this domain, I want to know, like, what exactly can be the differences between someone who knows coding and tries to enter into cybersecurity domain, plus someone who has no experience, or who don't want to pursue coding in the future. So is there any difference between the salaries of these profiles? Like, the coding profile is more hectic, or there's more responsibility for the people who code. So please tell us something about this in detail, because social media is not giving us the real picture about this.
Oh, for sure. So basically, yeah, there would be different salaries for different, like it comes again with the amount of work that you have to put in your
Mhm.
regular day-to-day activities, and what's your experience like, for sure. So could I say that like this the experience that I have plus the role or responsibility that I have I would be getting the same amount of salary of someone who's a security analyst, the same uh, sort of role.
Mhm.
It's like not necessarily, but it again comes with what you bring to the table, right? Like
Okay.
if you're good enough with what you're doing, you could ask
Mhm.
number, you could talk numbers for sure. But if you're
Mhm.
new to the field and you're still exploring, you need a little like guidance, and like you're at intermediate, I would not say intermediate, like the beginner level, then I
Mhm.
think you would kind of have to like there would be like a starting package for sure. So it's like, but you could get like good numbers for sure, like with the experience, and the more experience, the more responsibilities you would get, the more things
Mhm.
you would bring to the table for sure. So you could definitely talk good numbers.
Okay. So whether or not you require coding in your day-to-day profile or day-to-day activities, your salary doesn't depend upon this, right?
No, it doesn't. Like because it does not depend that if yeah, if you like code, it's just an asset, like because
Mhm.
in cybersecurity, most of the people expect like things that you don't need to code, but if you can, it's just like an addition. You could have like a security team of your own, where like there are engineers who are like who know security plus know how to code, so you bring two things to the table. So yeah, you could talk more about salaries, but again, if you're like really good at what you do in the terms of not coding but other things,
Mhm.
like they're threat hunters, they're like detection engineers, they don't code, but they know good stuff that I might not know. They
Okay.
would have more experience, so they could talk good numbers as well.
Cool. Since you have a good experience in coding and you use it on your day-to-day basis, so we can discuss a little bit more about this thing. So, is there anything particular that you would suggest our audience to study, or to get their hands-on experience, like any particular programming language, or some of the frameworks that they can learn in order to crack the interviews, or some of the certifications that you feel that can give them edge while applying for the jobs? Because I think the first step is to get your resume shortlisted, right? So in case you
Right.
don't have any good resume, or you don't have the particular certifications on it, or maybe some particular frameworks, so there are very less chances that someone's resume will be shortlisted. So anything that you would like to suggest to the audience?
Well, when I started looking into it, and when I was going through the process of finding my first job here, and that time, you kind of definitely rely on different sources on internet and whatnot, and you kind of keep on pushing yourself, learning different tools and frameworks, and doing certification, and just trying to be best in whatever you could be at that point in time. But actually, you, basically, I think none of that is required. Only you
Mhm.
have to you have to select what you want to do,
Okay.
and for that, like like I want to be a detection engineer, so I want to what I would do, or a threat hunter, what I would do is like trying to learn about networks, different
Mhm.
logs, analyzing them. Like then I would be more I would like to learn more about SIEM tools. So my tools are limited to SIEM technologies like Elk or Splunk, right? So
Mhm.
it would be more of that. I don't have
Okay.
to like be good at like blue team exercises, red teaming exercises. I don't have to learn all the tools that are relevant to cybersecurity, because again, you are domain specific. You don't
Right.
have to learn everything. So again, it is about calling what you are more intended towards doing. You want to be part of blue team, purple team, red team, or what, there are a lot of teams. And
Okay.
then or you just want to be a SOC analyst who's just like, but like SOC analyst again is part of blue team, so it's like not, or could be part of any team. So it's like what would be relevant to what your calling is. Then there are tools, certain frameworks for sure, but
Mhm.
again, it depends with what you want to do. Yeah,
Okay.
but like it's not necessary. And
Mhm.
if you want to code, then I think Python is like the very much famous or famously or used language, and very easy to
Mhm.
learn as well. So most of the companies right now writing new processes and like new tools and whatnot. So they
Mhm.
all use Python, and you don't have to be like very scared about learning multiple languages.
Right.
It could be
Okay.
Python. Yeah.
Cool. And Shubhangi, you also mentioned that like being focused on domain, like which domain you want to work. Like you also mentioned Red Team, Blue Team. I think it's like you want to be on offensive part or defensive part.
Yeah.
So how do students or how do someone who wants to enter this industry can get to know about this? Is it something that is taught in the university or colleges, or is it something that you need to explore on your own by doing some personal projects or some extra research?
I think it's just the same for every field. I think even if you
Mhm.
want to be a regular developer, while studying, you kind of take up the courses, and then nobody teaches you how to code, right? Like, but
Mhm.
you take up extra efforts like different tutorials and whatnot to learn about coding.
Right.
So it's same with the security field as well. You have
Mhm.
to start looking up. When you take courses, you'll definitely get introduced to different fields, different things, and then's when you have to decide, okay, do I want to, like, you kind of explore different things, and then you kind of decide that, okay, I want to be part of more. I want to learn more in detail about how this particular tool is working. I want to
Mhm.
be part of networking side, or like, endpoint side or infrastructure side, and then there are tools accordingly.
Okay.
So yeah, again, it's just like exploring, but it all only comes with your calling, which would require you to put extra efforts out of the box. Like you have to go and look up the tutorials to make yourself understand, and like then realize it's not like, it's not in books for sure. Like you take up the
True.
course and you're that's
Yeah,
not there.
yeah, I think that's true for every field. If you want to enter into the software industry, then you need to put in some efforts, do some extra research, do some of the personal projects, and then you can know like where exactly you want to land a job. And
Exactly.
and
That's totally in everything. Yeah.
yeah, and Shubhangi, talking about the job scenarios, this one thing also I want to discuss that like again on the reels and the social media trend, people are portraying this as one of the most demanded profile in software industry. So is it really true? What is your experience as an experienced cybersecurity professional, and is it so in case you have to rank it, like is it really easy to get into this industry or it's very hard? So where does it stand on that scale?
I would say 100% hands down, it is a booming field. Like
Okay.
it is definitely a booming field, because like every industry today would have to have their own security center.
Hmm.
Even if they don't, they would outsource the security, but everyone has to take care of the security part, right?
Right.
So it is definitely a booming field, and also there are very few people who are learning about it. Like, there has
Hmm.
been a lot of progress in recent years. Like people are like knowing about it. They're like universities giving the specialization in security and whatnot. Now everything is just like more easily available, but still comparatively there are few people.
Hmm.
uh, but there are a lot of jobs. But this being said, it doesn't mean that, okay, it would be easier for you to
Hmm.
get money just like that. You'd have to still struggle to find your first job, and it would not pay you too much. Because like you're fresher, you don't have a lot of experience, but you have a little bit of background in courses on projects, and like a little bit of co-op here and there. But
Hmm.
it would require you to learn more and then move forward. But it is a booming field, and you could find a job, and you don't have to put an extraordinary effort out of the box. It's just how every job, how every uh, field required to find the
Right.
first job. It's just initially. Yeah.
Cool. You mentioned one very heartbreaking fact that initially you might not be paid very well, or your salary might be very less. But talking from a student's perspective, what number can they expect as a beginner, and as they move forward into their career? So, is there any particular range that they can expect from these type of profiles?
Yeah, for sure. I could, yeah, definitely. So basically, if you're a master's student,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it depends that do you how much experience back home you have? You have no experience at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could still expect 60 to 65.
Okay.
Uh, to be honest, in security, it wouldn't be like, I don't think there should be anything less than that. And
Mm-hmm.
also it depends where the company is. Like if it's very a remote place where like there are not a lot of people, just a startup, you would not get like a lot of money.
Right.
But there, if they're a good company, well reputed company, and you land your job there, it's easy to get like 60 to 65 to 70, something between that.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that it's not a bad number, but it's not very good number as well. Like it's
Right.
just a decent starters number.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're a master's student for sure, right?
Right.
That is how you would land up there. If you, I think, and also, it just depends how good you have done in the interview.
Mm-hmm.
You get if they feel that they need you, they would, you could be the one, then they could give you better numbers as well. Yeah.
Cool. Shivangi, I guess that's all for today's talk. Any final advice that you would like to give to our audience who are targeting cybersecurity as their profession in future?
I think it's really a booming field, and people should take more interest in like learning about it. Even the developers these days, because like it's shift left, shift right. Everything is happening. Bringing security all the way from the start to the end process. So it's just great to learn about it, and you definitely find jobs and. It's not just difficult, it's just as same as like other fields as well. It's just like the same amount of effort would be required, but
Mhm.
it's also your calling. So if that's your calling, don't be afraid about, okay, I might not find a job. That's
Thanks a lot for your time, Shivangi. I am pretty sure our audience will learn a lot from this video. And again, I thank you for your time.
no worries. I am glad to be here, and I really enjoyed the session as well.